Hey team, so today I wanted to go over a question that is asked, and that is how do I pace a 4 hour marathon? The marathon, as you all know, it's such a different type of race versus, if you were training for, say, a 2 mile race or an 8K or 5 mile distance competition. Those races are over like that, okay? But the marathon takes several hours for a lot of athletes, and to hold 9:09 mile pace or 5 minute and 41 second kilometer pace for 42.2 kilometers or 26.2 miles is not an easy task. The marathon requires the athlete to really focus on several fundamentals, and if you neglect any of these, you will not perform at the type of level that you're capable of doing. Okay, one of the biggest mistakes I've seen a lot of athletes make, and I made it earlier in my career when I first started running marathons in 2002, is not drinking enough and not practicing hydrating well during your long runs. You have to make sure that you're hydrating well in these races. It's you can get away with that in a mile or a 5K or maybe even a 10K on the roads, getting away with not drinking. But in the marathon, the half marathon, the 10 mile distance, you have to make sure that you are not passing those aid stations. So make sure that you're practicing. Start dropping water bottles out if you haven't already. Start dropping water bottles out every 3 miles or every 5 kilometers during your long runs, and grab those bottles and practice ingesting fluids. See how much your stomach can handle. In terms of how to pace a 4 hour marathon, I would focus on a negative split. Okay, the biggest mistake for a lot of athletes is pace. That have the biggest problems in the marathon is pace sustainment. Okay, I already know there's plenty of athletes that can go out and run sub 4 hour marathon pace for a half marathon. Okay, but doing it twice, doing it back to back is another ballgame. Okay, you have to make sure that you are not going out too fast, too aggressive, and going into oxygen debt. So again, as I preach this in all my videos, make sure that you're spending a higher percentage of your weekly volume training faster than 9:09 mile pace or faster than 5:41 kilometer pace. If you're doing mile repeats, it's going to get down to a point where you're under 8 minute mile pace. Okay, if you're doing repeat kilometers, get to a point where you can do those kilometers, around 4:20 to 4:30 per kilometer. Again, spending time training well below the pace that you're planning on running at, in this case, the sub 4 hour marathon pace. You want to make sure that you're training sufficiently at paces that are at a much higher percentage of your max heart rate and for a longer period of time. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're not only doing faster long runs, but you're also doing longer long runs. Okay, in the past, if your longest long run for a marathon has been, say, like 14 to 15 miles, consider lengthening that long run out to around 18 to 23 miles and see how that affects you and see how that helps you improve over the marathon distance. I don't think in terms of how do I pace a 4 hour marathon, pacing it will become much more easier if you're setting up your training more strategically. Okay, what I mean by that is if in the past you've spent, say, 15% of your weekly volume running at or below anaerobic threshold effort, which is around 85 to 89% of your max heart rate, then I already know that you're very fit, but you may be having pace sustainment problems because, again, you're just not spending a sufficient amount of your weekly volume training at a high enough heart rate and for a long enough period of time. A lot of times athletes have problems breaking the 4 hour marathon because their tempo runs are just, they're not spending enough time at training at their anaerobic threshold. Okay, maybe in the past you've been doing 4 to 5 mile tempo runs, or around 6 to 8K for your tempo runs. Start thinking about getting that long run or that tempo run out to around 16 to 20 kilometers. And again, you're spending a longer period of time training at a much higher aggressive effort, and that is again going to help improve your lactate tolerance. Doing speed session, even though you're training for the marathon, speed matters in the marathon distance because, again, we always hear about there's two parts of the marathon. It's the first 20 miles of the race and the last 10 kilometers. The last 10 kilometers is where you make your money. That's where the bread and butter happens. Okay, so you definitely do not want to be slowing down once you get to the 20-mile mark or around the 32-kilometer mark. You want to make sure that you're picking people off. You want to get to the finish line under that goal time and see that 3:59:59 on the clock. And I already know how tough this time is. I mean, I started competing in marathons back in 2002, and to me, really, if you're under 4 hours for the marathon, you're really getting at a level that very few runners get to. Okay, there's so many runners out there, millions probably, that have a sub 4 hour marathon as their goal. And even on RunDreamAchieve.com, I created a course called the 4 Hour Marathon Mastery Course, where I really go into specifics on every single segment, every area of the marathon that you really need to really hone in on in order to get 9:09 mile pace or 5:41 kilometer pace to feel more manageable. Okay, you want to get that pace to feel more like a 10-minute mile pace, or maybe like around 6:30 kilometer pace. Okay, and again, it's not going to happen by running easy too often. Okay, easy running is still important. Okay, you still need to jog on those easy days so that you adapt to the hard workouts, the track sessions, the road workouts, the fartlek workouts you're doing, the hill repetitions you're doing those long, faster, long runs I talk about. It's very important, especially after faster, long runs that you're doing. Sometimes you'll need 2 to 3 days of recovery, even up to about 3 days of recovery to really adapt to that type of style of running. Most athletes, there's so many athletes out there, including myself, from 2002 up to around 2007, January of 2007, I did all of my long runs long and easy. Okay, I never considered running faster, like running at like 10K race pace in the middle of a long run, or even dropping a sub 5 minute mile every 4 miles of a 20 miler. Never considered that style of doing long runs. But that tactic helped me go from a 2:43:36 in my debut to a 2:19:35. And I've seen other athletes implement that particular strategy into their training and drop significant time. Okay, I had a guy that was trying to break a 3 hour marathon. He had a 3:46 PR, followed my sub 3 hour marathon pro course, dropped his PR down to 2:58. Okay, massive improvements. Okay, I've had other runners dropping 20 to 30 minutes off of their marathon time, 40 minutes off their marathon time by changing up how they're setting up their training. Okay, so again, look, if you've had problems pacing for the marathon and trying to break the 4 hour marathon, look in the past, look at some of your logbooks and see what percentage of your mileage were you really training at around 8-minute mile pace or faster. Okay, now again, you're only going to be able to spend, if you're trying to break a 4 hour marathon, you're not going to spend that much time running at 7:30 mile pace, 7:30 8-minute mile pace. Might be a few minutes, might be a few seconds, but you definitely want to make sure that you are training at a higher standard, because what you're trying to go after, a sub 4 hour marathon time, is not average. Okay, that is well above average. So, and the athletes out there trying to break 3 hours, it's a very even smaller percentage of athletes that are able to do that. So focus on these concepts. Okay, there's plenty of resources on RunDreamAchieve.com. If you're new to the channel, look below all of my videos in the description. There's plenty of resources there. I have training plans, running courses, monthly coaching if that's something you're interested in. If you'd like to jump on a consultation call with me for an hour, feel free to check that option out as well. I know how difficult the marathon is. Okay, I've run 2:19:35. It was extremely hard to drop that time, and I trained for another decade after that, and only could get to a 2:26:42. But that being said, I don't say that to impress you. I've been outrun several times over the years. I've been humbled so many times by athletes that were far better than me. Okay, so I try to keep it real here on the channel, but I want you to know that you have support here. I know what you're going up against, and I know that you can break the 4 hour marathon, but you have to make sure that you're following a strategic plan. So I hope this video makes sense. Let me know what your current personal best is for the marathon. Even if you've already broken 4 hours, let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to hear where you're currently at, what your long-term goal is. So I hope this video is helpful for you. Feel free to like, share this video with other athletes, other family members, coworkers It helps the channel grow. And if there's anything else I can help you all out with, I will definitely do my very best to do so. So I will talk to you all in the next video.